and these conversations around marketing, just entrepreneurship in general. I love coming on and talking, regardless of who's here, how many people it is. I just love getting to build relationships with the speakers even.
Absolutely, man. It doesn't get old for me, and I've had so many conversations on marketing. That's kind of why I threw in this AI thing. Um, and there's so many. It's a perfect recipe because the space is so new, and like the rules aren't written yet, and there's just so many unbelievably talented, gifted people with so many unique perspectives. So like I could just jam on it all day. And speaking of that, Black Dave, I haven't even gotten tweets out. I'm fanboying over here. How are you, Dave?
Hey, I literally just sent my tweet. I was like, I hope he doesn't say my name while I'm typing this tweet. Um, I'm super pumped for this conversation too, actually. I I've been something I think that's interesting about like my perspective on this is like I make music primarily and thinking about how I can use AI to help on the marketing side for me. And also I have a degree in marketing. So like looking at all the tools, like being in Web3, making music, looking at AI, being experienced in marketing, like I'm actually super pumped for this conversation. I'm excited to talk about like how I use the tools and like what I've used them for so far and blah blah blah. So it's good to be back with you.
Of course, it's only been 3 weeks, I think, since we were last on the space together,
Yeah,
but that
yeah.
feels like that's an eternity in Web3 world. And I'm so grateful that you could make time because I know you're busy like everyone else. Um, Kaylee, what's up? I'm gonna invite you. Punter's a real G who is always down for marketing talk. He just DM'd me and said a little while ago saying that he had to pick up his kid from school who he thinks is sick, so he may or may not make it. But thank you guys so much for being here. If everyone could just put in a comment with an emoji of how you're feeling right now, let's please the algorithm. Uh, whether to Jojo's point, whether there's 6 people in this room or 600, I know there's going to be a lot of value that's deplored, and Alex is here, um, who's going to chop it up, and we're going to have some great bits because there are a lot of very smart people um, in here. So I'm just always full of love. Can't shake those hearts, Dave. So let's get some emojis in there. Please retweet the space. And yeah, like we're gonna get right into it because I want to respect everyone's time. So if we don't mind just going around the horn, just kind of the TLDR on who you are and what you're doing in the space, maybe 60 seconds, and then I'll kind of get really a little bit more narrow with marketing, and then we'll get into the marriage between AI and that. I just want to first introduce myself. I'm Rob, head of marketing at Gauss here, among other things. Gauss is a a curated layer one blockchain built with the intention of inviting brands and their communities into a safe ecosystem, one free of scams, one free of, all of the nasty black eyes that are on that we all know about Web3. So our vetting system kind of prevents that and only allows, the good actors. So super exciting stuff. We're launching our swap tomorrow, our Noble swap. So um, we are in a place where we're going to be pausing our Ferro card NFTs on Polygon, and we're going to be migrating over to our native blockchain, which is huge news in our world. So we love fostering conversations about all things Web3, and this, like I said, this is a real sweet spot for me. So excited. Jojo, I'm going to kick it to you first, and then we'll go to Dave, and then Kaylee if she's able to jump on.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm Jojo. I'm head of marketing at Cardinal House. More specifically, I've taken a focus into learning social media growth plus monetization, and it's led to the development of our service, which we capture attention through, especially through Twitter content. We build relationships, and then we help people monetize their brands through Twitter content.
Let's go. And Dave, The infamous Black Dave.
Hey, I'm Dave, Black Dave in the streets. I am a creative person who is primarily a musician. I've been in Web3. Well, I've been making NFTs for a little over 2 years now, and I like to. I've been trying to like throw accolades out there. I was part of the NFT 100. I've been on the Sound.xyz mix with Snoop Dogg. I've done all sorts of random things on the music side of NFTs. A lot of people know me for my threads and my writing on Mirror.
I love it. And Alex, why don't you say what's up? Introduce yourself, please.
Hey guys, I'm Alex. I'm part of Gauss as well. I'm a video creator and I guess I'm a video editor. I'm editing some of the contents here on Gauss. So whatever shorts that you see, whatever you see on YouTube, it's kind of done by me as well. I've been in crypto for over, I think I want to say 3 years now, since we're in 2023. But yeah, I really enjoyed the community aspect. Everyone here is very nice, especially in Gauss. And yeah, that's about me. That's it about me.
Alex is very humble. He's a fire video editor, super talented and super great guy. Kaylee, what's up? I see you made your way up to stage. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, I got the toddler down. He's down. I am Kaylee. I'm the owner of Growth Mindset Marketing. I've been in the space since like 2021, trying to help creators and mainly like parents and artists that were doing everything for marketing to figuring out how to write their own like smart contracts and all that jazz. Helping them create a marketing plan that won't cost them anything because a lot of artists and creators don't have a big marketing budget. And back then it was like, give me $5,000 and you can have the access to my 10 million followers. But really, those are robots and people suck sometimes. Anywho, yeah, I just like finding the most, I don't know, the coolest tools to use, I guess, because I am very efficient person and I feel like most people need, because they can't do everything. So I try to find home bases so people can do it all without burnout.
I love it, and thank you for coming. You were on one of our previous marketing chats, and you just had so much value to give, and you're so sweet and kind. So thank you for being here. And I know toddler life is not the easiest to navigate. So I'm gonna just jump. I'm gonna jump into it in a more macro sense. I kind of want to talk about the state of the union of marketing in our Web3 space, and then we'll organically get to talk about ChatGPT and other AI tools and how we are integrating it and how we see it integrating. But I'll pose this to the panel, and then you guys can take it as you see fit, whoever wants to jump in. So I just really quick in the macro Web3 marketing, what do you see people doing, whether it's for themselves personally or growing a brand in web? I mean, we're really talking about Twitter here, I guess, but if there's other avenues too for Web3 marketing, what are people doing poorly? What do brands need to be doing a better job of? And what do you see that's going well, that's you've seen work for brands? So whoever wants to jump in. Jojo, I don't know, want to throw you in the fire first, but I know you've been really in the weeds growing the Cardinal House brand. So
yeah, no, I can go first. I'll take this one. I'll start with just something poor. I think what a lot of businesses do is they have a value around authenticity, and then their content doesn't represent that authenticity they claim to have. And one of the big mistakes we see is oftentimes businesses will try to shill their products or just share their features. So they'll do products and features through their content. They won't show problems and solutions, right? I think the best way to create content is to highlight the problem you solve and to highlight the solution and tailor that to the customer. If you want to be authentic, tailor it directly to the customer. Stop trying to sell them on something through your content. Your goal is to make them passionate about your community, not try to sell them through content, right? I think that's the issue. If you focus on building your brand and building your community up, they would want to buy your product, right? You have to get them passionate about your community and make them want to reach out and buy your product. And I think that's a big issue I see.
I to like tack on to Cardinal House, like something that I see a lot of on the brand side, especially as someone who's like an individual artist who mostly is helping other individual artists, is a lot of them will follow the trends without thinking about how their brand ties into the trend, or without creating something that's closer to their brand within that trend. So like for instance, something that's happening right now in the NFT Web3 space is the movement around checks that Visualize Value is doing. And so many artists tried to figure out ways to make their own versions of checks, but they pretty much were only like trying to draw some popular picture and hope that people would buy it. And I think that's an opportunity for especially artists and businesses to work on building brand. I remember I was talking about like doing a checks derivative for like a donation for Kindred Hearts, one of the projects that I'm on the team of, and I was like, we should use hearts, or we should use the shape of a heart. We should do something like something simple, but then ties to the brand, and then make sure that the action on the other side of that brand is related to the brand as well. So for instance, for Kindred Hearts, it was like we donate money, and so we're like, cool, let's donate 100% of the sales to. I think we were talking about the earthquakes over the Middle East, but I think something that I see a lot of companies and individual artists do is that they try to move on trends without understanding how their brand aligns with it, and a lot of them don't even understand what their brands actually are. And I think that brand building is something that a lot of Web3 natives, especially Web3 natives, don't think enough about.
That's such a good point, and you're totally on target with the Jack Butcher derivatives. Um, since you said, I'm gonna hold you to this just because so much crosses your radar, Dave. What have you seen in the last 3 to 10 weeks, marketing wise, that you think is like, wow, like we need more of that while staying authentic?
You know what's so funny is like I think the obvious biggest W is the Visualize Value, or what's his name, Jack Butcher things. I always followed him as Visualize Value on Instagram, and so when people started saying his name, I was like, oh, this is the same guy. Um, so that's probably my fault for not paying attention. But I think that they've done an amazing job. Something I think is really powerful, especially I would say through 2022, was looking at how D Gods has been moving in the space, and not necessarily D Gods, but specifically Frank, right? Like Frank is making sure to be someone on the ground, but always maintains authenticity in his voice, no matter whether his feet's being held to the fire or he's being praised. And he shows up authentically in all these places. I think the easiest way to build brand is to be yourself, right? And I think that's something that he does masterfully. And then I just think that there's a product on the other side of that that people want.
100%. I love it. Kaylee?
Yes. A few things that I think people are doing just so wrong is like buying followers or engagement bots, because they don't realize that we're aware of your engagement numbers and we can actually see what looks legit and what doesn't. And it's completely ruined everybody's algorithm. Like all of it.
I totally the amount of things, and now that like I've crossed over to being in a Discord where I can look at tickets and look at people shilling things that are just predicated on bot numbers, is everything that's wrong with the whole thing. It's just it's a house of cards that, however you map it, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. So I love everything that you guys said. I think it's all on point. And Jojo, you started off with talking about authenticity, and that's what I titled the thing. Using AI for authentic marketing, right? There's marketing, right? There's bots, there's hacks, there's cool tools, but how do we do it authentically? And you know, if any one of us scrolls through our Twitter feed, there's a lot of people, to everyone's point, jumping on trends authentically, but probably more often than not inauthentically, and that just that's kind of what we're seeing a lot in this space. So I would love to to really start going towards AI, just because that's the hot topic, right? ChatGPT, and talk to all of you about if you've used it personally, what have you done, and just how you've interacted with. Let's just stick to that one platform for now, ChatGPT, for marketing.
I'll kick this one off. So one of the things that I talked about in my intro was like people following my threads and people following my writing, especially like on Mirror that XYZ. But I do a lot of writing around different parts of the Web3 ecosystem. I'm a member of Friends with Benefits, the DAO, and I write weekly anime recommendations. Anime is a strong part of my personal life, I guess, brand for business sake. And then I write the Web3 biweekly newsletter in Water and Music, which is a music and tech research DAO as well. Something that I use these things for quite often is for uh, idea generation. Thinking about, okay, cool, what types of, something that I typed recently is what types of anime content would be great for YouTube. Using that as the foundational point, and then looking at some of those, and then trying to figure out how to spin those into my own voice. Something that I like to say about AI, especially because I'm like a visual artist as well as a music artist, is like AI removes the mundane and allows you to get to the extraordinary a lot quicker. And I think that some of these foundational things are that where it's like instead of me thinking about what types of content I want to make, it gives me a bunch of ideas for content and then I start making that content, especially because I'm authentic to the culture of anime. And so I don't have to, once I have the ideas, I don't have to go back to ChatGPT and say, okay, cool, what are the five best anime? I don't have to do that because then it becomes inauthentic. And I think you're using resources that aren't necessarily yours or like in your head or uses your specific taste to help you out. So for me, I'm a huge fan of using it in order to come up with topics, and then I'll make some content around the topic. And especially if the content is written, then I'll try to use ChatGPT to make that content more concise. I'll say, make this into two paragraphs. Make this more concise. Take out the redundancies. Is my grammar right? You can ask these questions to ChatGPT, and it'll help out with your written content, which I think is huge. And then if you're trying to create associated content that isn't actually the written content, then it's great for using it as foundational idea generation. That's how I've been using it.
I love that. Let's put ChatGPT aside for a second. Is the blank white page intimidating for you, Dave, or you do just thrive with it and or whatever, like your creative self?
What's fun for me, I think, is that when I write, it's how I talk. So a lot of times it's stream of consciousness. For me, like authenticity and culture are king or queen. If you saw the clip, I've been retweeting a lot from when I was on the Solana podcast last week. But like I am a firm believer that if I just do it in my voice, it's the right thing to say. And so I always try to do that. And that's why I personally use it for idea generation. I think when you're working with brands and businesses, you have an opportunity to use ChatGPT to even give yourself a voice, right? There have been a lot of people who have, I forgot what the trend is called, but it's kind of like this idea that you break ChatGPT by making it have a certain tone of voice. And you can create a brand voice using ChatGPT where you can say, hey, my product does these things. Describe these in 3 paragraphs with a snarky attitude or with sarcasm, and then it'll do it. And then it's like you put that together, and you're like, oh, look at this funny, sarcastic brand that also creates good products. I think that that's a huge thing. I know I'm taking up a lot of space, but thanks for those questions.
No, it's unbelievable, and I've seen it. I've people, and it's in a way it's a lot of fun. Like, right, like, look, this one's Shakespeare, this one's Chuck Norris. Like the tones are funny, but like when we're looking at it analytically like this, like professionally, like it's real profound. Jojo, I'm going to kick it to you. What's your experience been, and have you used it in your process of growing Cardinal House Twitter or marketing?
Yeah. So this is a fun one, and we had a talk about this a few weeks back on a podcast. And it got to the point where everyone was discussing, can AI be authentic or not, right? And I think the whole thought process behind AI, how it uses data points to craft messages, I don't think it ever can be authentic because it's always going to be trying to copy, authentic. If you tell it to be authentic, it's trying to copy it, which then wouldn't be authentic by definition, right? So it's like, it's hard because I don't think I'm good enough to be able to prompt it to be myself yet. Maybe we can get to the point where we're good enough to do that, but I don't feel like I can describe my writing style or my voice. Maybe that's just where I'm at as a writer, but I don't think very many people are at the point where they can describe their exact writing style. Like, I feel like I have intangibles to my writing style that are like, things that flow out of my head that are so authentic because it's just me that I don't know how to convey. I don't know how to share that with the AI yet, but I have used it for idea generation. So what we do at Cardinal House is we map out brands and we map out 10 different content cross sections to make it easier to create content around a brand. So we understand their brand better, and then I can put one of those cross sections of like into the AI and say, hey, give me 10 topics to write about this cross section, which it would be something on brand, something that is specific to their brand that I might not understand, but the AI can draw data on it and get more ideas as far as creating content around other people's brands.
Kaylee, I saw your hand go up. Did you want to add on?
Yeah, okay, so you can actually put in a piece of writing that you wrote and then instruct the AI to now use this tone and like this is or basically it's going to turn into you. I have like a whole step-by-step process, but it makes it sound like you authentic. And then now that Google is picking up on anything that's written AI, it's not as you, they don't like it for SEO because they're battling with all of that stuff. So I suggest definitely using copy AI or something to rephrase it if you can. And you can you can have both of them be they can turn into you. It's pretty great.
Let's you mentioned a step-by-step process. Let's start at the beginning with you. Have you used it personally or professionally?
Both, yes. And it's awesome. And like I just nerd out and go down all the rabbit holes on how to navigate around it. And also, I would suggest not even using ChatGPT, but using the playground because there's a lot more. I guess I'm just going to call them privacy policies or rights to what you write and what you put out on ChatGPT than just the playground. And it's really the same thing because that's where ChatGPT was created.
Gotcha. Good alpha. And you mentioned you created a step-by-step process to share with others, or were you referring to just kind of like your internal step-by-step process when you're going through, using it or creating something?
I kind of made an AI playground tutorial that right now my pinned tweet is kind of just a Web 2 to Web 3 full outline on how to build your brand. But now that AI is becoming insane, I'm going to attach that.
Awesome. I'm gonna pin that. Dave, I pinned your pin tweet, and I'm gonna do the same for you, Jojo, if that's cool. And if you guys if you have anything more, time sensitive or anything you want to share, please throw it up there. Real quick, just check in. Thank you guys for being here. We're talking about using AI for authentic marketing, right? I think where a lot of people are starving for authentic marketing to for their brand, to their community. We're talking about it. Gauss is a layer one blockchain curated ecosystem that we're launching our swap tomorrow, but every week we try to foster and have amazing conversations about all the different facets of this amazing space of Web3. And we're here with some fascinating people in the marketing space today talking about ChatGPT, among other things. So thank you for being here. If you have a question, please feel free to pop up, or some thoughts, throw it in the comments. If you don't have a question or a thought, please put your favorite emoji in the comments. It would mean the world to us. And we really appreciate you being here. So we're we've all have the baseline of actually using it, idea generation, changing the tone of voice. Let's get into like the nitty gritty here. What's Dave? Like, let's go back to you. Like, and I'm pretty comfortable with you, so we could go as detailed as you want. Like, what was the last thing you used it for? Like, I know you have your own token. You're working on a whole bunch of projects. Like, let's go real practical here.
So I've got a couple of examples. This is a perfectly timed question. I'm pinning up to the top. Um, so I make music NFTs. A week from today or tomorrow, I have my first drop of the year, which is a song. This cover art, which is the picture that I just posted to the top, is for one of my songs. It's called Feel Good. It's not really a feel good song. It's not a feel bad song. It doesn't matter. But this cover art is actually me starting with ChatGPT, telling it to describe this image that I was trying to make. I think it was something along the lines of describe an image with an anime girl overlooking a city with a smile on her face, something, something, something. I really like art by, and then I named a few people. What it did was something that ChatGPT does that I think is a little bit different than how many people use, especially these visual AI apps, is that they put it into sentences. So it doesn't become like a code block or anything like that, where it's just like word, comma, word, comma, word, comma, but it actually uses a whole phrase. So the way that I use that is I take that, I put it in, and then I start making adjustments based on the things that happen. So I think it said like oh God, let me see if I still have it actually popped up, pulled up. But I used something along the lines of it saying they were um, something about the serene environment, and there was something along the lines of a forest, and then it said something else like might also be useful for a cityscape, starry sky, blah blah blah. So then you start swapping words around and try to end up where you want to end up with this sort of foundational image. Once I went through a bit of idea generation between like GPT and Midjourney, probably for about an hour or so, I ended up with probably 4 or 5 images, and then I just took them into my graphic design program and started playing around with them. One thing that I'm sure many of you know about the visual AI is that it does a terrible job with actual words. You can't really put words into it, and it won't spit them out in a way that's effective. So what I did with this was I put it in, I put the words in, I started adding grain, I think I had outlined the character in the front, I'd made everything in the back blurry. It actually was all in focus in the version that I had so that the character pops more. I added a shadow to this and I did that. And then I would clean up some of the lines because the AI is never great. One thing that I think is interesting about this is in the smile of the character, there was this disconnected row of bottom teeth that looked terrible. So I just took that row of bottom teeth out and replaced it with some more red from the tongue. And so there are all these little things that I'll do that'll adjust the image. So when I talk about like eliminating the mundane to reach the extraordinary, this is sort of the idea that I think a lot about, where I can say, okay, cool, this is the foundational point I want to begin at, and then we're going to move around from here and build our way up to a final product. And so I'm able to do my own cover art like this. I mean, of course, I do graphic design. I can't draw, which is why I did this as opposed to calling somebody because I needed to turn the song in today, and I did this last night. So, so like this is I think my most recent thing. Something else that I commonly use it for is to ask questions about my anime recommendations. So sometimes I'll recommend an anime. I always pick the anime myself, but then I'll go, ChatGPT, tell me about this anime. It'll tell me who wrote it. It'll tell me what year the anime came out, and then it'll give a brief synopsis. Then I'll say, I really like this anime because blah 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 blah, and I'll say, are there any interesting facts about this anime? And then it'll sometimes give me really cool things, and sometimes won't give me cool things, and so I'll use that as a piece of the writing as well. So those are my two most recent uses.
I love that. And first of all, it looks awesome, and I didn't know you had that going on so soon. So congrats. And I'll definitely be looking out for that. And while you were talking, I couldn't help but think about just like the new skill sets, right? Like a lot of the pushback of this is, it's so easy, like it's replacing your job. if you're a marketer or copywriter or whatever. But it's just moving the set of skills that you need, like, to do this well, and to be authentic. Like, you need to be able to do that. You need to know how to use the tool. It's not going to do all of the thinking for you. You just need to, like, the best people that's are like you guys, like, really getting in, learning how to use the tool effectively, are gonna win. I don't know if you've heard that too, about how it's gonna replace jobs.
What's interesting, I think, is that people who feel that way haven't used it and they don't understand how much actually goes into it. I think Kaylee hit the nail on the head talking about diving into rabbit holes and doing all this research and knowing all the tricks. And even what Cardinal House was saying, he was like, well, I don't really know how to write about how I write. It's like that's like the first thought, right? It's like, oh, if I want this to write in my voice, I need to explain how I write. And Kelly's like, actually, you can put your writing in, but you don't know that until you know that, right? And I think what's happening is a lot of people who are going to be what we'll likely end up calling like prompt engineers in the future, they're going to know every single trick. And if they don't know a trick, they're going to find a way to get to the trick. And I think that that's going to be really important, but I don't think it's going to replace anyone's job. I think there's still a strong desire for the human touch. There's still a necessity for editing. There's still a necessity for customer service. There's still a necessity for so many things. And as AI becomes more ubiquitous, AI is going to show its style to people. And we're at the point now where I'm sure all of us are, where we can say, oh, this art looks like AI. Oh, this looks like it was written by AI. Oh, this AI. Like, we'll be able to tell what AI looks like, I think, sooner rather than later. I think as a primarily Midjourney user and not a Stable Diffusion user, I know what Midjourney V3 looks like. And I can tell if you showed me an image and was like, oh, is this AI or real? I could tell most of the time if it was made in Midjourney or not, at least Midjourney. And so I think those eyes are going to become more trained to be able to recognize. So I think that new jobs will pop up. I think that jobs will shift and what we do with the jobs will shift, but I don't think anybody's going to lose it.
Fascinating. Do you think, on your point, do you think as the AI gets better, let's say in like 5 years, that you'll still be able to tell the difference?
Probably not. But I do think that AI only uses data sets, right? So if you create unique things, you'll always be ahead of the data set. I think it's gonna force a lot of people to really step their game up. I think if you think a lot about like all sorts of industries that existed when these industries sort of began, and then new tech sort of came into them to make them easier, it required the people who were already in that existing business to step their game up. And a lot of times what happens is that those businesses and those people within those businesses are replaced by people who have a higher skill set that recognizes the tools in front of them. I watch a ton of anime, and something that I think is a very common thing, especially in Japan, is like this idea of sticking to the traditional format of things. And I think something that we do a lot in America is we try to move past that. And we think that if you're being really traditional, you're not being progressive. And I think that, like, especially in tech, just knowing how quickly it evolves, it's going to be important to recognize that a lot of us who might be existing in the lower and middle tiers will have to work a lot harder to continue to be recognized as more competition enters the space.
Such an interesting point. Jojo, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on my thoughts on this. But when I think of like AI and I think of like self-driving cars like Tesla, and I heard like a statistic, and it was like the average self-driving car, or at least the average Tesla car that can self-drive, crashes one in every 3 million miles or something. And they said like the average car driver crashes one in every 500,000 miles. And I just thought, well, yeah, AI might get to the point where it's better than the 95% or 99%. But I still do think there's going to be that 1%. Like, imagine a race car driver. He's probably not going to crash every 1 in 3 million. It might be 1 in 10 million, right? Because he's so skilled. So I do think there's going to be a level of like AI will be better than the 99%. But that 1%, if you're the ultra skilled, you're going to be sought out way more because you're going to be noticed, right? You're going to have your skill set's going to be more valuable because AI is going to take over most. But the 1% of the jobs is still going to be there for the people who are the best, the highest skilled, the most authentic. It's like Shakespeare. As much as you could tell it to write in Shakespeare's voice, can it have that emotion, that feeling conveyed in it like Shakespeare could? Probably not. You know what I mean? That's my take on that. I want to hear what you guys think.
I think that's why UGC and short form video is launched, especially with YouTube Shorts now. So the authenticity, I don't think is going to be in the writing. I think the writing is going to be more SEO based and whatever. And then where they're going to build their community is through short form video.
Totally. I think to anything, to any tool, to anything that's been introduced to us ever, like you either learn it and like learn it well, or you are novice at it, or you're familiar with it. Like whatever bucket you put yourself into, people are going to do that. I mean, this is just one of those like monumental things that it's like, you really should learn this. Like I just quickly, and I haven't done this yet, I just quickly typed Chat GPT into YouTube just to see what was out there. And it's like chess people getting into it. Like I coded a whole website. I built a whole marketing strategy with Chat GPT, like make $1,000 a day using Chat GPT. Like people are going to get really, really good at it. And, and to your point, Kaylee, like authenticity might not even be a factor in a lot of those different industries. But man, if nothing else, just to be more efficient with your time, right? Time is our most precious asset. We can't get it back. Like we can do a lot of these things, even if it's the mundane, like a lot quicker by using this. Jojo, I'm curious, like especially from your and Kaylee or anyone can weigh on this too. Like, is there any sense of, like, when we're talking to clients, like, is there any sense of stigma, you think, when you're like, okay, like I'm paying you for a service, right? Marketing services or social media. Like, is there any sense of stigma, you think, or people just are appreciating the tools like we are right now? Like,
What do you mean by that? Like stigma using AI for
like
content?
if I'm paying, I'm just gonna throw out a number. If I'm paying you $3,000 a month to do my social media, and I know that you're using AI tools for it, like is a customer gonna think, like, frown upon that if they're not totally educated like we are and like really digging into it?
Yeah, I think you
Like,
really be honest with your customers, and if you're promising a result and you're saying, here, this is how we do it. We're promising this result, and you deliver on those results. I really don't think it should be frowned upon, even if it is. I think if it is, there's just a misunderstanding, because we're constantly looking for ways to use AI to fast track our processes as far as what we do. Because engagements with AI would make it so much easier. Think about how many good morning replies you could do with AI, right? Like half those replies are like the same 50 replies just spun into different ways, right? Like AI could take that and get you 1,000 good morning replies. And now everyone's seeing your name. Now you're interacting with people who've never seen you before, right? Like there's so many ways you could use AI to do things to just fast track growth. But yeah, I don't know. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that. I don't think it's anything wrong as long as you're clear and you're delivering the results you promise.
On my end, it's been a bit of a mix, I think. I agree with Jojo. Like, it's really about the transparency up front. And even for me, I say, like, I use, this work is AI assisted, blah blah blah, and some of them go, well, aren't you an artist? Well, aren't you a writer? Or aren't you this? I'm like, yeah, but what is, like, if I'm those things, that means that I have the taste that recognizes if it's good or bad. And I think that that it's a lot of times not worth it to argue with the clients. It's because a lot of times the things that we are, especially like us on this stage right now, the things that we are using AI for are things that we can already do. And I think something that a lot of people are concerned about is that people who can't do things are using AI to do the things. But there often comes a point where your skill set is tested, right? Where it's like no matter like how many things I type into chat GPT, there's gonna come a point where I'm gonna be in a conversation with someone and they're gonna ask me a marketing question and I can't ask chat GPT. And I need to make sure I have a proper answer. I need to make sure that I still understand their vision and understand what's going on. I think a lot of people right now, because chat GPT is so new and AI, it's not so new because the use of AI for like all these reasons is so new, um, that everyone's looking at it like it's really easy to use, but there are going to be times where you really need that person who's actually good at that thing. Or you really need that person who has the taste and understanding of what a good version of that thing looks like. I think there are tons of times that you'll get a response from GPT, for instance, and you'll say, yeah, this is technically good, but it's not good, but you have to know that. And so I think that discernment is something that a lot of people who create a stigma around AI don't consider, especially on the tech space side. It's like I still have to know what sounds good. I still have to know what sounds right. I still have to know where to put it, when to put it, how to put it. And I think it's similar as well with visuals.
That makes a ton of sense, and it reminds me of something Gary Vee said about scaling and hiring people. Like you need to know enough. You need to be dangerous enough to know if someone knows what they're talking about, right? Like to your point, like you need to know if it's good. And I've seen that too, like from a chat GPT generator response. I'm like, I don't know about this. Like it's a good start, or maybe like this line makes sense, but overall, like if I didn't know about the subject and just copy and pasted it, like I'm outed, like I'm doxxed. Uh, so real good points. Jojo, jump in.
Yeah, I just have one last thing to add, and I want to let everyone get a chance to talk about this. But a lot of these massive content people, Alex Hormozy, Gary Vee, they talk about it like, the strategy is out there for everyone. The implementation is hard, but the strategy is easy, right? Like everyone knows how to lose weight to some extent. Everyone knows how to grow on Twitter to some extent, but very few people know how to implement. And I think that's why people give away free value in content. They're not worried about people actually doing it because the 1% are actually going to know how to implement. So I guess that's kind of where I stand as far as that goes. Is the strategy is a lot easier, but knowing how to implement it and actually take it and make it valuable and something that delivers results is kind of hard.
100%. I'm gonna throw the emoji and say it out loud. 100%. Kaylee, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think that if you have already done everything with ChatGPT, you have proven results. I don't think you need to tell them unless you are lying to them and giving them false hope on marketing goals. But if you've already done your whole system, you know it works, I don't think it matters. It's as long as you are doing it and following through, they don't need, it's not hurting anybody.
100%. And I imagine, like anything else, I imagine like if someone's investing dollars into getting a job done, like they just want the best job done, as long as it's done, morally, as long as there's no real weirdness going on, like they just want the job done the best that they can. I just wonder, like, for the people not in it like us, they're hearing about how it's being banned in schools, and that rhetoric that the media puts out there into the world. And once that filtrates to business owners, uh I could see the pushback. Dave, I know you got a good riff on this.
You know what's so interesting, I think? All the years I went to college, I think the only thing I really learned in college was that uh, you need to be good at looking things up. You need to know how to find information when you need information, and that's the real skill set of, I think, secondary school. They like sort of teach it to you. Like when you think about like the Dewey Decimal System in the library, right? They start to teach you that, and then they teach you a lot of foundational things as like math and reading and blah 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 blah. But then once you get to college, they're like, oh yeah, like I'm going to test you on things, but all these things are in all these places for you to get the answers from. And that's something that I definitely had to do way too many years and way too many different course studies of college to really like come to the end conclusion of. But I still think that that's really important. I think I wanted to like sort of tap into, well, I I say all that to say that like on the school thing and on the cheating thing, it's like, yes, we need students to learn these foundational things, but also we need students to understand that there are tools that can help them reach their goals. And I think we're like sort of double speaking when we like cancel chat gpt. So I think that that's like, I don't know what the formal answer for that is or whatever, but it is what it is. And then I think on what Jojo was saying earlier about like the implementation and execution, it's so true. And I think, you know, when you're looking at people, especially like when you think about like from like a marketing like agency sort of perspective, there's a lot of what we want to put our clients onto is this expert style content. But if they're actually not experts at this content, no amount of chat GPT is going to help them. And so it's really important that they're able to execute on the things that that we're even writing, right? It's like, hey, so we're gonna write about blah blah blah. Do you actually understand what that is before like you have to go onto a podcast and they say, oh, it says on Twitter you said da da da, and you don't know what it is? Like, and so I think there's a lot to be said about this large percent of content being put out with this small amount of execution. I definitely know I've seen Gary Vee talk a lot of times about how he says like, I could walk you through my whole day. You could go to every meeting with me, and 99% of you still wouldn't be able to be successful because it's about execution. And 99% of people who understand what I'm doing won't do it for a variety of reasons. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add that.
100%, 100%. Kaylee, I saw your hand up and then go down. I'm not sure if you wanted to.
Oh
Go.
yeah, I just didn't. I felt weird. So what I do, because most people that are just like really against Chat GPT, they have no idea that it's from Open AI. So just telling people that you work on the playground on Open AI, they're like, oh, that's awesome. I think that's great.
Totally. Sorry, I was on mute. No, that's a really good point. Really good point. Eugene, I saw you come up. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, thank you so much. I got to go to a meeting in a few minutes, but I wanted to share a story with you guys really quickly. I started an agency in like 2017, and we actually started it because we sold the first NVR show to every order, like a traditional TV show, running 3 full seasons. And every year since, me and my partner, we've done this thing where we challenge ourselves to get things to go viral in new and fun and unique ways. And recently we're like, can we use AI to say, get an Instagram page to, over 100,000 followers in a short amount of time? And we were actually able to do it. And we used a couple like social hacking methods, including like making sure the pictures were slightly messed up, just to force people to like want to comment and call it out, which therefore drove the innovation even further. We used the 4-quadrant method from Sinosaurus, which if you're not using that, I highly recommend you do. But we were able to take this Instagram account that had 1,000 followers, and in 9 weeks is now sitting at 138,000 followers.
Wow. And remind me, do you say 2017 you started that?
Yeah. So we started Studio Cap, and when we sold this show called Glitched, it was part of the starting 16 slate over at Altspace. Some of the other people on that roster were like Reggie Watts, Justin Roiland, who created a show called Rick and Morty, Bill Nye the Science Guy, the commie group Josh, which was Sarah Silverman, Michael Cera, Tim, and Eric, and then somehow me.
That's fantastic. And sticking to the topic here, did you feel like you were being authentic to the brand throughout that process? If not, like, how did you pivot?
Absolutely. So it was like a fun throwaway account we decided to use. Um, so it wasn't something that already had like a major audience tied to. It was something that we were able to be like, okay, there's a little bit of engagement every time a post goes up, bare minimum. And then it was just like generating content out of, Mid-Journey, and then figuring out what the proper hashtags were out of Chat GPT, getting little descriptions written up, making sure that we spelled everything right, doing the due diligence you would when using AI as a tool to try to get something seen.
That's amazing. Thank you for coming up and sharing that.
Of course.
Really appreciate it. I know you've been engaged the whole convo, and it's one that could go for many hours in so many different rabbit holes and directions. But in the looking at the time here, I do want to start to wrap up. And with that, I know if anybody does have any other questions, feel free to come up. And Jojo, I don't know, I think you had to pop down, but feel free to come back up. I do want to round up here with maybe some closing thoughts and maybe one practical tip, because obviously there's a lot of usage going on here with this unbelievable panel. One practical tip, and then one kind of piece of meta advice or ideology to help you stay authentic. Because I think Kaylee mentioned the word rabbit holes at the beginning in her intro, and that's like whether it's any part of marketing, like it's very easy to go into rabbit hole. It's very easy to start off in ChatGPT and one other thing and get pulled in another direction. So with all of that, with ideas, with the ever changing landscape that is Web3, especially marketing, it's changing fast. So how do you stay authentic? So to summarize my question again, one practical tip for using the AI and one piece of meta advice for just being your authentic self. Kaylee, I'm going to start with you.
Of course. Can I actually have like 5 minutes? I am dealing with my older one.
Oh, of course. Nap time's over.
Thank you.
Dave.
Yeah, for sure. That's a perfect reason. So I think for me, on the GPT side, something that I have been um, growing increasingly like interested in and doing a lot more is using GPT to get me started, and then writing something, and then coming back to GPT and like putting the writing in, and then trying to start adding in a few more details. So like I think a good example is I'll say, okay, write about write about this anime, and then I'll say, okay, cool, write about this anime, but tie it into World War II, and give me some good statistics. And then it'll give statistics from World War II that somehow relate to an anime. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And I think finding those different through lines, and I think something that JoJo hit on earlier too was like these cross sections. I love using it to say, talk about how this thing and that thing are related. I think that a lot of brands are more than one thing, and I think that this is an opportunity for you to find more ways that these brands cross each other, and so, or that these different topics within that brand cross each other. And so I've been really focused on that. Um, I think like an overall tip in authenticity is, you know, if you never, something that like, and I'm sure we all know this, but like something about like you learn in school, especially about sales, is like a lot of times people aren't buying the products, right? The product is not the thing that people are buying. And so you really have to think about like what the things represent. And I think for me, especially as someone who makes music and is a music artist, I try to think about what I represent, and then that's the thing that I try to push forward. But always try to lean on that at every chance you get. And so even thinking about how I use AI is completely predicated on the brand that I'm trying to build. And like I know my Twitter bio doesn't say it. My Discord bio has my old bio, which says bridging the gap between anime, streetwear, sneakers, and rap music. And if I think about that with everything that I do, then I'm able to move authentically no matter what I do, no matter what tool I use, no matter what like medium I create art in, whether that's the visual you saw earlier that I pinned up, or it's one of my songs, or it's a photo I've taken, or it's clothes I've designed. They all speak the same language because I'm authentic all the way through. And so I think authenticity really starts on, just being sure about what you're about, and then moving with that forward.
I love it. Kaylee, feel free to jump in if you're available, but if not, I totally get it.
I'm good. The older one's 8, so it's just like a mom needs 10 minutes and he's fine. Oh my gosh, there's so many things. I highly suggest anybody checking out Betalist. I think it's .com or .io, because it'll give you kind of an idea of all of the apps that are coming out and kind of where marketing is heading. And then, what was the second part? I got distracted.
It was just kind of one piece of meta advice on how to stay authentic while you're doing all of these processes.
Oh, I guess it's really nice to have an accountability buddy that will like talk you out of your analysis paralysis and doing things. So kind of like having someone that you feel comfortable giving you feedback, I think is really beneficial, and it will stop you from like overthinking about something for 4 or 5 days when you could have just addressed it to somebody and they'd be like, "You're crazy. It's amazing," and then because imposter syndrome is real, and same with burnout.
100%, 100%. And while both of you and Jojo were talking, I think the key that I'm coming back to is just getting into the thing and using it. Like authentically using it will just naturally give the authentic vibe of whatever you want to do, even if it's as complex as having 10 things going on within your brand. So it, like anything else, it can't be a fake it till you make it thing. It's just not going to happen. So authenticity is undefeated. Amazing. Dave, Kaylee, any closing thoughts? Dave, feel free, please. I mean, both of these speakers, and Cardinal House as well, Jojo, please follow them. I've gotten to know Dave pretty well, working with him, and he is a lot more than just anime and music and sneakers. And Kaylee, you're always have so much value to give. It's unbelievable. But give us a quick pitch on what you're doing and where to follow you if it's not Twitter.
The easiest way to find out what I'm up to is to head to my website, blackdave.xyz. Um, I am currently in the middle of it's a long journey, but I guess I'm at the beginning of the journey, um, of this new sort of method of like funding my creative ideas through something called Black Dave Token. It's my pinned tweet. Um, it's a lot to explain, but I'm looking for new methods that artists can find ways to thrive in the Web3 ecosystem. And so, if you check out my pin tweet thread, and the associated mirror post, it'll give you an idea of what that's all about. I appreciate you having me. Kaylee, I think the last thing you said about imposter syndrome is so true. What's funny is I almost made an imposter syndrome comment in my final statement as well. So I'm glad that you knocked on that. And yeah, just thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Kaylee, any quick plug?
No real plug. Right now, I am currently working on restoring my LinkedIn because I had somebody who's actually in the room right now take it over and post very inappropriate pictures of me. So I'm trying to get my business back.
You please do, please do. This is awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for your time. And if you haven't checked out Gauss, please do. We are a curated layer one blockchain. Um, Really building an ecosystem to invite brands and communities and influencers we're building a safe, vetted ecosystem where they could feel comfortable bringing their communities in a safe, kind of scam-free world, where authenticity rules and transparency rules. So it's a really exciting time. We have our Noble Swap launching tomorrow. Really cool stuff. So please give us a follow and check us out there. And we can't wait to have more conversations like this. I can't thank Jojo from Cardinal House and Dave and Kaylee and Eugene. Thank you for coming up. You guys have been awesome. And if you missed this, there will be a playback on YouTube as well as some other content. So thank you. I really, really am grateful that you could join us on this Monday. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Take care.